Sean Campus, good morning. Welcome to our coffee hangout. I hope everybody's doing well. Everybody's having a good week. We um, we got Christmas going on next week. I won't be here. For those of you who are reading the book, I won't be here live on Monday, and then probably Tuesday morning I'll be back for our next coffee hangout. So we will be here for that. Anybody who's doing Sunday Strength, I actually won't be live for that either. I'll put up recordings though, and have those ready for you guys to be able to check out. All right, today I want to talk about addiction, and so the first thing I think we probably should say about addiction is really everywhere. Kind of depends on um, what you've been exposed to and what you've kind of grabbed onto. Um, the cool thing about addiction is that that's actually something that I feel like is wired into us for good reason. Like we get that sense of like wanting to go back to a certain thing over and over and over again. The hard thing about that is that a lot of times that thing that we're choosing is harmful to us, at least in the future, if not immediately. And so I guess you have to ask yourself, like, what are my addiction pieces? And I may not even be calling them addiction, but what are they? And try to assess, like, how is this costing me in the long term? And I think also being willing to say that is huge, because sometimes whenever we talk about things, we'll minimize what it is to us. Like, I could stop if I wanted to. Um, it's I do it a lot, but it's not really that big of a deal. So we'll minimize what it means, and I think that's probably represented by our moment look. Like what's going on right now is probably not as harmful as it will be. The person who constantly drinks and is drinking, like the fun and the opportunities that are in the moment are really cool until maybe the next day when there's the outcomes of that situation, the hangover or whatever it is, and even further down the line where there hasn't been any production in life, and somehow it's kind of just dragged on. And really, that's the case with everything. One of the hard things about addiction that people don't talk about, as far as a hard thing, is not just people talk about like how much it is, um, how it could be unhealthy as far as physical, but they don't talk about the mental wear. So here's the thing about addiction. Addiction is usually a search for some sort of connection, right? Or compensating for connection. And so, in that process of trying to um, avoid or search, we give a shortcut. So when you hit a shortcut on the things that you need to do inside of your body, like connect, create, contribute, when you hit a shortcut on those scenarios, you are basically not learning or growing your body into what's really needed. And so nobody really talks about that aspect of addiction. A lot of people just kind of say, well, yeah, I have, I shop too much and it costs, a lot of money and my family's behind in bills. So that's one side that they see. The part that they don't see is in my effort to avoid or do connection in a different way, I get this sense it's being pleased or fixed by something that is not sustainable, and I never learn how to do it, right? And so understanding that that aspect is there is a big deal, because if we're going to repair addictions or do addictions differently, we have to really understand what we need to be doing instead, right? Because it's one thing for you to say, like, I don't want to have this addiction anymore. Well, most likely, if you don't understand what's going on, you're just going to hop to another one because you're going to think shopping's the problem. and then you're going to do alcohol instead. And so then alcohol, you're going to think that's the problem. And next thing you know, you're on your third or fourth addiction, and nothing's been resolved. Why is that? Well, it's really because we don't necessarily know how to do connection. Okay, so what does that mean? How do we do connection? The best way I think to do connection is start to um, get more in tune with the feelings that you get when there's hardship, right? Get more in tune with the feelings that you get in hardship. So when things are going on, like, I could probably recognize that, hey, I am shopping a lot more, right? When that's starting to happen, what preceded that? What came before that scenario? What happened before that? Well, um, maybe I was having a lot of conversation with my family members, and it's it's been a struggle for me, and I just needed to go get a fix, right? Um, and so if we can see that, we go back to the family member struggle, and we don't need to go fix it with our family members. We need to be able to look at what's going on inside of us. So, can I sit through those hard emotions before I decide to go do the shopping or the addiction scenario that I have, right? Am I willing to say, look, I feel alone whenever my family and I don't get along. I feel frustrated that I might be left, or that I don't have control over what's going on in that scenario. And really being able to admit and see that situation, um, the feelings connected to that situation as much as possible. So we skip over that part a lot of times, but being able to acknowledge what the hardship is and what the feelings are connected to it is a really big deal, because now you're not just going to run and fix it with something else outside of you, and that becomes a problem. When we start resolving our experiences with outside uh, outcomes or situations, we really need those situations and outcomes over and over and over again. And so we start thinking, oh, I'm not capable of being able to handle the hardship of whatever these moments are on my own. So I need to go get it. And the truth is, you can handle it on your own if you're willing to push through that first part. Okay, so I see what's going on. Then what's next? After we're able to see what's going on, we need to be able to do fulfilled scenarios. And so, what are the fulfilling scenarios? Well, the fulfilling scenarios are, we talked about them in another video, are create, connect, and contribute. I need to design my life in a way that highlights those situations. And the hard thing about addictions is addictions don't have those components in there. They actually um, de- help to deteriorate those scenarios in our life. And so I need to make sure that those pieces are inside of my life and design it that way. The best way for you to do that is create routines in your life that will help you to establish those things, right? So, is it harder to do the feeling and the creating routines and all of those situations? It is. It's harder to do at first, but I remember the concept, and it would be useful for you. Is that the discipline initially creates freedom later, right? And it's the opposite that is going to happen anyways, which is freedom right now first means discipline later, right? And so if I'm willing to do the discipline first, that means I'll be able to be free of addiction, free of those kinds of things that lock me in, free of a life that I don't really want to be a part of, right? So it is harder, but harder doesn't necessarily mean the bad situation. Hard is coming no matter what. So hard is coming at the end of addiction, or it's coming at the beginning whenever you're disciplining yourself. So we're creating those routines that will help us to form more connection in our lives, right? So do we need to be connected to somebody? Well, that's going to be an automatic, because in creating, contributing, and connecting, those things kind of circle together. And as you're forming those, you put in your routines things that help your relationships, things that help your contribution to the world, help you to be able to create things, which means exchange with others eventually. And so all those things land in the spot that you're supposed to be in, or they help you to land in the spot. And so it's a huge deal for you to become more aware of those things that you have inside of you that you're able to do, instead of continuing to avoid what the hardships are and go to your addiction over and over again. All right, so a quick little recap. One is addiction is you really searching for connection. The opposite of being addicted to things is you being connected to things. In order for you to move on from addiction, it's really for you to be able to um, set up a different way of being in your life, by creating routines, disciplining yourself, and um, being able to discipline yourself and create the things that mean create, contribute, and connect, so that you're fulfilled instead of being addicted. All right, you guys, I hope you have a good week. Enjoy your holiday, and we'll talk to you soon.